What's going on, everyone? Ronan here, and welcome back to the channel. We got a lot of things to cover today, as you can tell by what the thumbnail looks like. But before we get into that, we got to do a couple of things. First things first, let's shout out the Patreon. Ifosa Amid, thank you very much for the support. And also, guys, analytics are very important. Engagement for the channel is very important. So if you guys could do me a favor and take a look at this statistics right here, and then drop a like, drop a comment. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. That way you can help the channel get to a larger audience. With all that being said, let's get into what if Brock took the gym challenge, part 5. I hope you enjoy. We begin today's episode in the direct aftermath of Brock's loss to Gordy at the Turffield gym. The boy hasn't been taking it too well since the source of his loss was Gyarados, and then what Gordy said to Brock about not coming back if he can't get his Pokemon under control. Brock doesn't understand that Gyarados always listened to his mom. The two were inseparable, and he was around Gyarados for most of his childhood, so he doesn't get why it doesn't want to listen to him. Sure, mom is gone, but Brock aims to keep her memory alive by using Gyarados to battle, just as she would. But every time Gyarados comes out of its ball, it's just so full of rage. And to be honest, the boy is scared, as he doesn't know what would happen if there isn't somebody there to actually subdue Gyarados, as every attempt he's ever made has been unsuccessful to this point. These are the thoughts that consume Brock's every waking moment. It's to the point to where he doesn't even really pay attention to anything ever since the gym battle. Even Karkle, who's normally indifferent about its trainer's feeling, is starting to know that its trainer is feeling a little bit down, causing the rock type for what could be possibly the first time to be concerned for Brock. And it's here that the two find themselves walking in a field south of Turffield, heading to a place called the Galar Mines. It's here in the mines of Galar that Brock hopes to train with Karkle a bit, so that way it can actually become strong enough to beat Gordy. However, after what he saw with that whole Gigantamax thing, Brock doesn't even know if any type of training would work. That type of power under the first gym leader is something he never thought he would ever see. And after the overwhelming strength that Gordy displayed, Brock is beginning to understand why his dad couldn't beat him. But all of these thoughts clouding Brock's mind is going to cause something unique to happen here, as when the boy and Karkle stop in the middle of the grassy field that they are to try and get bearings on their directions that they're heading, a slight pinch can be felt on both Brock and, surprisingly, Karkle. Then it just fades away. At first, they play it off as nothing too seriously as they continue their trek towards their destination, but those slight pinches keep happening over and over again, and it gets to the point to where Brock is starting to lose his mind, checking to see if there's anything that's actually attacking him. But unfortunately, every time he looks, there's nothing there, causing the boy to lose his insanity slightly more each time. That is, until Karkle accidentally sidesteps, putting his foot down on top of something that lets out a squealing sound, followed by some brief sparks of electricity that causes Karkle to writhe in pain just slightly, before it lifts his foot off to reveal that there's a bug type that got stuck underneath it. Brock is unsure of what this Pokemon is, however, the fact that Karkle stepped on it has made the little guy agitated with the situation, and it begins to surge with electricity as it lets loose little static bolts that shock both Karkle and Brock. This is when the boy puts 2 and 2 together and realizes that this little electric bug has been the one that's been causing them this discomfort the entire time, so Brock aims to end this with one attack as he calls for a flame charge from his starter. As Karkle glows in a fiery aura, it throws all of its weight at the bug type, bringing it down, nearly squashing the thing and eliminating it from this plane of existence. As Karkle pulls itself off of the bug, it reveals a very pancaked Pokemon that has spirals in its eyes. With little hesitation, and to prevent any more discomfort on their part, Brock decides to throw a Pokeball at this thing, catching it with little to no effort. With the annoyance of the moment dealt with, Brock just simply puts the new Pokemon's ball on his belt, and they continue their walk in the directions of the mines of Galar. This walk takes about a day or so more, to which Brock hadn't calculated for the extended time, and he ends up setting camp up overnight, allowing him to release this new Pokemon he caught and get to know it. Turns out the Pokemon's name is Joltik, and it just has a mischievous nature. It wasn't intending to cause any harm to Brock or Karkle, it just liked the thrill of shocking them and then running away before it could get caught. But as Brock points out, that didn't really go too well in its favor, as it did get caught. Joltik takes offense to this, as it becomes a little bit scorned over the whole situation, but nonetheless, Brock is right, and the bug type did get caught. not, so whether it likes it or not, unless Brock chooses to release it, it's part of the team. The rest of the journey happens rather uneventful as Brock and Karkle make their way to the Galar mines the following day. The two stand at the entrance briefly before heading inside. However, it doesn't take long for the two to wind up where Brock was actually intending to go. While he did want to use this place to train, there is another reason why he decided to come here. As according to his father, this is the exact place where he caught Roly-Poly when he was doing his gym challenge. The boy sees that there seems to be truth in this statement, as Karkle is very familiar with the cave area. For the first time since Brock's known it, the rock type is actually happy for once, spouting joyful glee to be back in its early life home. However, this isn't going to go unnoticed, as some other Pokemon that dwell within the cave have taken notice to Brock and his Karkle, to which these fighting type Pokemon decide they would like to introduce themselves to this duo. Suddenly, 6 different Pokemon that carry large beams of lumber on their back appear before Brock and Karkle. While Brock would normally take this as an encounter of wild Pokemon, truth be told, it appears that Karkle and these Pokemon that Brock has come to deduce as Timber are having a conversation like they have history together. However, it doesn't seem that the history is good, as the conversation seems aggressive, with the movement and body mannerisms of the two different Pokemon going back and forth. And with each exchange of cries of their name, it appears that they are getting more hostile towards each other, until an all-out battle ensues. Before Brock can react to anything, Karkle is overtaken by the 6 different fighting types, as they use their type advantages to begin to attack Karkle, quickly subduing the rock type and its trainer before they can respond with any real type of counterattack. While Brock doesn't know the exact history between his Karkle and this seemingly leader of the Timber, he at least has enough sense to put together that this thing has a personal vendetta against Karkle, to which Brock just tells the Timber to leave them alone. They'll leave. They don't have to fight over something that doesn't seem to be that important, to which Timber seems to take these words as a sign of disrespect at its authority, and it begins to attack Brock for such insolence. And this causes Roly-Poly to react, as while normally if it's being attacked by these guys, it wouldn't really make a big deal out of it considering it's very defensive and bulky, but for some reason it feels like it needs to protect Brock. So in order to do so and break itself free, Karkle decides to use a rapid spin. Here we watch as it slowly begins to move in a circular pattern, gradually building up speed until it's moving so fast that it flings whatever Timber are holding it down off in different directions, freeing it in the process. Then, putting all of its weight into its attack, Roly-Poly uses a flame charge as it slams its massive frame into the leader Timber. This sends the fighting type sliding across the cave, as it envelops a burn and gets even more irritated at the situation, causing it to retaliate in a one-on-one battle with the rock type. While in this situation, Brock and Roly-Poly may be able to pull out some sort of win, the truth remains that there are more than just one Timber here, and the other ones that Roly-Poly flung off are beginning to pick themselves back up and make their way back to the fight. Brock isn't liking their odds, as Karkle is doing his best to hold off just one of the Timber. Thoughts and scenarios begin to play through the boy's head as he considers sending in both Gyarados and his new buddy Joltik. However, both options seem like they're gonna be bad for different reasons. Luckily for the boy, there seems to be somebody watching over him, as he hears somebody give a command: "Charmander, use Dragon's Breath!" Suddenly, a Pokemon that Brock is very familiar with, the Fire-type starter of the Kanto region, Charmander, appears as it begins to douse all of the Timbers with a Dragon's Breath, causing them to recede out of fear from the strength of the attack, with some of them even catching paralysis in the process. This is where Brock rushes to his starter's side to see if it's alright. However, Karkle's really unfazed. Its bulky frame allowed it to stave off most of the attack from Timber, with it simply replying a cry of its name to its trainer. This is where the two turn to face the Charmander that saved them, and behind it stands a boy that Brock has never seen before, to which the mysterious lad asks if Brock is okay. It seemed like if he didn't show up when he did, then those two might have been the punching bags for those Timber back there. Brock confirms that both him and Karkle are fine, and he thanks the boy for the assistance, asking him who he is in the process, to which the boy laughs, simply apologizing for his rudeness. His name is Leon, and he's currently challenging the Galar League. After all, he wants to be champion one day, as there's no stronger team than him or Charmander. The Fire Lizard lets out a brief cry of its name to confirm that his ambitions are aligned with its trainers. Right, Brock says. Well, my name is Brock, and I'm a trainer from the Kanto region. I came out here to challenge the Galar League as well, and this is my buddy Karkle. It was actually caught here in this cave when my dad was out here a few years ago, but now it's my Pokemon. It was my first Pokemon, and I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that statement you made about you two being the strongest team, as me me and Karkle are the ones who hold that title. Really, Leon says. Would you like to test that with the Pokemon battle? Suddenly, Brock sees something in this boy and his Charmander that he hasn't seen before. It's a fire and determination. The thought of an intense, red-hot battle has changed Leon's demeanor to one that is more serious, like no matter what Brock would do, he would actually lose this battle. But he did come the whole way out here to train with Karkle, so he figures it can't hurt anything for him to battle this random kid. Turning to his starter, Brock asks the rock type if it would be willing to take on a Pokemon battle, to which it gracefully nods its head, as it's been getting a little bit bored just walking around with Brock everywhere. Turning back to their opponents, Brock looks Leon in the eye. Okay, you have a deal. We'll have a battle right here. What do you say we pit my starter against yours to see which is the better of the two? Leon is always down to test the strength of his starter Pokemon, and he happily agrees with these terms as the two spread out across the cave, taking positions far enough away so that way they'll have the room for a Pokemon battle. However, there is a problem here. They don't have an official referee, so Leon suggests that they just keep going until one of their starters collapses, to which Brock is okay with, as he would like to test the strength of Karkle in an all-out battle, and there's really only one other trainer that he's had the chance to do that against. But he's not here to think about Giselle right now, so with the both agreeing to start the battle, Leon decides to take the first move, ordering Charmander in with its secret weapon against a rock type, giving the command for a Brick Break. However, spending a year at the school has given him a slight advantage against Leon, as this isn't the first time he's come across this move and someone trying to use it against this rock type, and there's a specific move that Karkle has he developed just for situations like this, as he orders the rock type to use a rapid spin. However, this rapid spin isn't quite a normal one, as Karkle teeters a little bit while spinning at an extreme speed, and this causes the Brick Break to merely graze off the hide of the Mon, reducing the damage to almost zero. Leon isn't quite sure why that attack failed, and he's almost positive that it shouldn't have, so he decides to go with the same move again, ordering Charmander back in with another Brick Break, to which it meets the same result as the previous time, as Brock commands for another rapid spin, causing the fighting type move to just graze off of his rock type once again. At this point, Brock is beginning to feel like he's got that title of the strongest team in the bag, as Leon hasn't really demonstrated any knowledge as a strong trainer. However, this is where a slight false sense of security comes into play, as Leon is able to land a Dragon Breath from Charmander that causes Karkle to develop a paralysis as a result. This causes Leon to celebrate briefly, as he tells Charmander not to let up and use another Brick Break, to which Brock tries to respond with his counter defense with the rapid spin. However, this time it's not going to go so smooth, as Karkle has been stricken with the paralysis from the Dragon's Breath, making it unable to respond to Brock's commands and taking the Brick Break full on for the maximum amount of damage that Charmander could dish out to it. But luckily for Brock and Karkle, the rock type is very defensive, and as Charmander pulls back its fist to try and complete the attack, it's able to counter with a smackdown that hits the lizard so hard it sends it into the cave wall, rattling both Charmander and Leon. However, the boy isn't going to give up just yet, as he tells Charmander he knows it can keep going, and the fire lizard pulls itself out of the crater that was left, standing back up, ready to engage once more. And this is where Leon's going to make a slight error on his part, as he orders Charmander in to use an Ember. But unfortunately, one thing that Leon didn't take into account is the ability of Karkle, which is Steam Engine. As the rock type is hit with the fire type attack, it takes no damage, merely absorbing the flames in the process, leaving both Leon and Charmander a bit confused about the situation. However, Brock is not confused, as he knows what just happened. All of that fire that Karkle just absorbed up its speed to its maximum, allowing it to bypass the paralysis, bringing forth another smackdown on the fire lizard that is able to end it in one blow this time, giving Brock the win. Leon hangs his head as he recalls Charmander, stating that this is disappointing. That was the third battle they lost this week. Wait, I thought you said you guys were the ultimate team, Brock states, to which Leon reiterates the previous statement that they are, and him and Charmander are going to continue to train until they're the strongest in the world, so Brock better watch out. However, Brock simply shrugs his shoulders, telling Leon that if he wishes to even beat the weakest gym leader here in Galar, then he's going to have to do a lot better than that. Brock got rolled by him with just one Pokemon to his two, and if that gym leader could do it and he's the weakest, and Leon goes on to lose to Brock, his dreams of being the strongest in the world aren't looking so hot from Brock's perspective. This statement causes Leon to get a bit upset with Brock, as he storms off, declaring that Brock and him are officially rivals, and one day, someday, day. Leon will beat Brock. This just leaves the boy standing there scratching his head, unsure of what just happened in that entire scenario. But it doesn't matter, as he looks at Carkol and tells it to come on. They got some training to do deeper in the cave. This is where we shift perspective to the two that have decided to pursue Brock at the behest of his father and his brother, Joe and Giselle. The two boarded a boat in Vermilion City, heading to the Galar region, and after a couple of days at sea, to which Giselle did nothing but complain, they have finally found their way to the region, docking in the port city of Hulberry. Unfortunately for the two, this is the closest point they can get to dock to where they need to go here in Galar, as when they were preparing to leave, Flint gave them a warning. Brock was probably heading to the place called Turfield to challenge the first gym leader of the region. After all, that was the gym leader that Flint couldn't beat, and knowing his son, Brock would try and do his best to make sure that he was stronger than his father, to prove that he's better, by beating the one gym leader that Flint couldn't while he was out there. However, Joe is on a mission. He aims to find his best friend and bring him back to the Pokemon Institute in Kanto. So, without any warning, he decides that he's going to head out, leaving Giselle behind as all she does is complain. And this is shown when Giselle urges Joe to wait up for her. She has a stake in this too. After all, she needs to find Brock in order to clear her name. But Joe just points out that all she ever did was try to sandbag Brock. At every turn, she did whatever she could to get rid of him, to cause him any type of trouble that was possible. Even on his first day, all you and your flunkies did was make fun of him. So you are severely delusional if you think that Brock would do anything to help you. The girl takes offense to this, stating that Brock is a better person than Joe gives him credit for. And she's sure that when she explains to him exactly what's going on and how she may be kicked out of the Pokemon Institute, that he'll come around and see things her way. Joe just shrugs his shoulders, telling Giselle she can believe whatever she wants. But if she wants to find Brock at the rate that Joe does, then she had better keep up. Otherwise, she's going to be left behind, because he's not waiting around for her. And with that, the two unlikely traveling companions set off into the wilds of Galar, looking for Brock as quickly as possible. And that's where we're going to leave things today. So tell me, how did you feel about this part? What did you think of Brock's first catch in the Galar region being a Joltik? How did you feel about the introduction of Leon and him being Brock's rival for the region? And if Leon's not the champion, then who is? And of course, what about the dynamic that's going on between Joe and Giselle? How do you guys feel about that? Let me know in the comments down below. And that's all we had for today's video. I really appreciate you guys stopping by to watch all the way to the end, and I just wanted to say thank you for that. If you guys really enjoy my content, consider following me on some of my other platforms like Discord, where you can get to know other people who are interested in what ifs, or on Twitter, where I post sometimes behind the scenes updates. Or if you want to help the channel grow a little bit extra, why don't you consider donating like the people right here have, as whatever you could offer could help us get to a larger audience by helping us get new videos done, or some of the projects that we work. Custom art is getting kind of expensive, so we want to make sure that we have the funds to do that. But with all that being said, I really hope you guys enjoyed everything, and I will see you in the next video.